Wano is by all means the biggest arc any anime has seen till date, not just in terms of sheer length, but also in terms of scale and the impact it had on the story. After all, Wano was what the entirety of post-time skip One Piece was building up towards. For many One Piece fans, Wano was their first experience reading weekly, and over the 5 years we were in the island, it's become a household name to One Piece fans worldwide. Rarely would you find someone who didn't like the arc, and to many, Wano was the peak of One Piece. A diverse cast, a great villain, superb supporting characters, new power-ups, top-tier fights, dark moments, Wano had it all. It was the culmination of 25 years of writing that managed to exceed all expectations placed onto it. Oda managed to outdo himself with this arc, truly showing his expertise as an author, one who created plot twist after plot twist while also having more plotlines happening at once than some mangas do in their entire existence. Wano was Oda's magnum opus within his magnum opus. To truly wrap up an arc of this scale is a difficult thing to do. The very idea of wrapping up 100 plus episodes into a couple of final episodes that produce a satisfying conclusion is innately difficult, which is why props must be given to Toei for episode 1084, as it managed to do something I've never seen any anime episode do: wrap things up. For a filler episode, 1084 managed to produce a thorough conclusion to a monster of an arc. It tugged on your heartstrings and invoked a sense of nostalgia for the arc, while also managing to keep us looking forward and showing us that the arc was once and for all finished. So today, let's talk about episode 1084 and celebrate it, and celebrate Wano as a whole, because 1084 is genuinely one of the best episodes I've seen in a long time. I've had to re-record this shit so many fucking times. I hate recording. I hate everything. The episode opens up with what I consider a subtle scene of the people of Wano just eating. Nothing more, nothing less. Just them eating. We don't need anything else to happen in this moment for us to understand how important this scene is. Food was a major part of the Wano arc. It served as motivation for Luffy to fight, and food constantly served as the symbol of liberation. Only when the people of Wano could eat would they truly be free, and in this scene, they were eating. This scene showed us a side of Wano that never would have been possible under Kaido's rule. It was sort of the we did it moment of the entire arc, showing us happy families, people eating freely and just being able to live their lives happily, showing us the consequences of what Luffy and the crew did, and well, it's really heartwarming to see the impact Luffy had on these people. The episode then continues to Luffy standing where Oden's castle once stood. The image of Luffy standing there in complete silence with only the sound of wind blowing in the background managed to invoke a feeling scenes rarely ever do. There isn't a single bit of dialogue or music in this scene, but the scene alone speaks in a way no words could. It's Luffy paying tribute to the man who started this all. Something I felt the manga missed out on was establishing a final connection between Luffy and Oden before the Straw Hats left, something this episode did fantastically. The man who finished it all giving props to the man who started all is a beautiful scene. We don't need Luffy to speak to know what he's feeling in the scene, and when Luffy smiles up at the sky to an image of Oden with the beautiful harp music playing in the background, you can't help but feel a bittersweet sorrow. Oden's flashback begins playing in your mind, and everything he's done comes rushing back to you. At the same time, seeing Luffy there invokes a sense of pride, as you know finally everything Oden dreamed of has come to fruition, and Wano is finally safe. Then following that, we have what is by far one of the most important scenes of this episode, the Scabbards saying thank you to Luffy. It is an understatement to say that they suffered a shit ton. The Scabbards have gone through an immense amount, and them bowing their heads and giving thanks to the Liberator is an extremely impactful scene. It gives us a conclusion to the relationship between the Straw Hats and the Scabbards, and man does it hit hard. We spent so much time with them that you can't help but not feel sad when you finally say goodbye. And then, more importantly, we have Carrot saying goodbye. Honestly, before this scene, I didn't really think about how important Carrot was to the story. I always knew she was, but after watching the scene, I realized we've spent almost a decade with her. I know that people always wanted her to join the crew, but I never really understood it until this scene. This scene made me realize that she's actually kind of important. Even though Yamato is better than her in every single way, she's kind of important. But then we move on to what I consider is the best scene of the entire episode, Zoro sitting by the graves of Pedro and Yasui. Yes, I consider this the best scene because Zoro's in it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and fuck, they're covered. Zoro sitting at the grave of Yasui in particular hit extremely hard. When the execution happened, it was clear that he took it the hardest, and so for him to have this moment was very important. Zoro being able to honor him and having a drink with him was a very sweet moment, and it let us honor Yasui and Pedro one last time. Without both of them, none of this could have happened, so this moment served as a final tribute to the two men. Oh, and then when Toko came in and sit next to Zoro, we got to see how she put flowers for her dad, and it was such a sweet moment and a perfect send-off for Yasui. And then we got this moment between Zoro and Hiyori, and finally, Zoro was relatable to me, because this was the most awkward moment I have ever seen. Dude has negative social skills, holy shit. And then finally we had this really cute moment between Luffy and Tama. When Tama was finally able to eat in peace, it was so goddamn special. After all, a large part of why Luffy was so determined to save Wano was so that Tama can eat. Watching her drink poisoned water just to be able to quench her thirst was what motivated Luffy to finally save the country and make it a place people can eat whenever they want to. As I already said, food served as an important symbol in Wano, the symbol of freedom. There was a lot of emphasis on food in this episode because it showed the fruit of the Straw Hats' labor. Get it? Because fruits are food, but fruit also means like the fruit of their labor, so let's just move on. And as Luffy walks away from Tama, we get to see how Otama sees Ace and Luffy, and it's a reminder of how Luffy had also completed Ace's dream. Also, any moment when someone sees Ace and Luffy is special because, you know, it's Ace. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe that's why Katakuri liked him so much. Saw donuts with him. Alright, I'm done. Overall though, this episode did a lot of things really good. Most importantly, it concluded everyone's storyline. The Tama Luffy moment gave closure to Otama's story. The moment with Carrot finished hers, and the moment with the Scabbards concluded theirs. The moment with Zoro at their graves wrapped up theirs, and the episode manages to wrap up a lot of things very nicely while also getting us to just reminisce about this arc. Wano is a really fucking good arc, and this episode managed to sum up all the emotions we felt throughout this arc into one. We also get to see this cute little moment with all of the Straw Hats and the people they were close with during Wano, and even Sanji and the pink-haired girl, who he also absolutely fumbled, meaning that both Sanji and Zoro are now the most relatable characters in all of One Piece. We got to see the scene with Beppo and Chopper, which makes what happens in the future make a lot more sense, and honestly, overall, it just added much needed closure to all of the characters within Wano. A major criticism of the manga ending of Wano was that it went too fast, and this episode served as a counter to that. The anime is doing a much better job at finishing the arc because they took their time to pause and just let the characters be free. A satisfying conclusion to these guys was so important, and the team at Toei absolutely delivered. The episode was superb, and that it managed to shine light on the most important characters we met in Wano's arc, and overall it signified that the end of the Wano arc is near. Also, I think this is one of the only times when the anime's slow-ass pacing pays off, so you know what? This is a W. Overall, this episode was a massive emotional roller coaster for me to watch. Wano was the arc I caught up on, and it's my favorite arc so far. While I'm excited for the future because I know what's gonna happen and I know it's gonna be good, the fact that Wano won't be a constant is a strange feeling. The entire time I've been reading One Piece, we've had Wano in the anime, and now we won't. But honestly, this episode managed to truly wrap up all the plot lines that weren't wrapped up in the manga, and sometimes it's just a reminder of how good the anime can be when they make changes to the manga where the manga falls short. Overall though, that's it for me. Thank you, Wano. You were a really good arc. But not as good as Zoro's chest.